Hello my tarot friends. Today I'm doing a VR to Tarot Magpie to her video called Tarotman's Tropes. I watched quite a few of VRs to her video and I found them very intriguing and interesting. So I said to myself, this would be an interesting thing to do. So here I am. So yeah, I am just going to start because as you can see, I have quite a lot of decks and I chose 2 decks for certain prompts because I just couldn't decide. That's that Libra moon in me, I suppose. So let's start. So the first prompt is Enemies to Lovers, and that to me is the Shadowscapes Tarot. So this is a Czech version of the deck. I got it on eBay for around £50. And I thought at that time, maybe it was not worth it because it's just a tiny bit bigger and a little bit saturated. But then when I started working with both decks, because I have English version and this version, I realized that this one is actually way better. Now, why Enemies to Lovers? At the beginning, I did not like this deck at all. I felt very negative feelings towards it before I got it because everyone on TarotTube were loving it, and there is this part of me that is very rebellish for no reason, I'm gonna say. So it's like when something is popular, I go the other way. I don't know why, it's just always been this way. So everyone was hushing about this deck, how beautiful it is and how amazing it is, etc, etc. And I was like, I'm not even gonna look at it, it looks cheesy, whatever, I don't like it. And then, I don't know, I think I watched Sadhana's deep dive into it. Like, I started watching one. I don't even know why, because obviously I wasn't into this deck. And then she pointed out certain things, and I was like, oh my gosh, this deck is way deeper than I thought. It is not just pretty, although it is pretty, but at that time I was like, oh, it's pretty, because, I didn't like it because everyone liked it. It is very beautiful. Very beautiful, actually. Now looking back, I just want to go and slap myself into the face because I was being silly. Anyways, where was I? So yeah, this deck is very, very deep. It works for me in like a way where I feel whenever I use it, I work with spirits in the liminal spaces or in a dreamlike spaces or with beings from a 5th dimension type of energy. I know it's supposed to be Fae, but to me, I know Fae is in the 5th dimension, really. They come to the 3rd dimension sometimes. Because you have Fae and you have fairies, and apparently they are the same thing. But for me, fairies are more the positive, dreamy guidance, like angels mixed with Fae. Whereas Fae are just like Fae mixed with oak trees. Does that make sense? Probably not. But like, yeah, it's just so beautiful. And yeah, it definitely is a deck that I adore now. Like, I really, really love it. The next prompt is Friends to Lovers, a deck that you used and liked well enough, and then one reading deepened or changed your relationship with it. So this is Volarkos Tarot. Now, this deck is an indie deck. It wasn't even that expensive, I think. It was around, I think it was around £50 on Etsy. And this deck I liked, like I saw it on a few channels and I really liked the art. I was a bit skeptical because the minors are very sketch-like. So, I liked it well enough, like it says. And then I started working with it. And the more I worked with it, the more I loved it. And then one reading, it was just incredible. I'm still in awe to this moment. Every single card that fell out in the spread was spot on to what I was going through. Spot on. I couldn't even, if I chose the cards, I couldn't choose them more perfectly, I'm gonna say. And the advice that came from this deck was, oh my gosh, the best advice ever. And this deck is so intuitive for me. I use it in a very, very intuitive way. It's like the colors, the strokes, the pictures themselves speak to me on a very different level than my cognitive thinking is, I'm gonna say. Like, I don't use knowledge of tarot on purpose here, if that makes sense. Like, I just read the pictures and read the energy and read the strokes. And sometimes I read the writing because we have writing on it, which I love, and it's just amazing. And also you have astrological associations on these cards that are different to the traditional tarot, which I also really appreciate because it forces you to step out of your comfort zone. And it's just so good. Like, this is highly becoming my soul deck, which I never expected it to be ever. I always found it beautiful, especially the majors and the court cards and the aces. But I didn't think that the connection that is going to come from that one reading is going to be so profound. And it's really changed everything. Like, this is now my deck that is in the same soul category than the Herbcrafters Tarot. And if you watch my channel, you will know that the Herbcrafters Tarot is my soul deck. So this is basically becoming, not replacing the Herbcrafters, it's never going to do that, but it's like on the same level of love. The same level of love I feel for this deck. It's so good. It is, it's just so amazing. So yeah, I don't want to hush and gush over this too much because I have many decks to go through, but this is the Pholarcos Tarot, and man, definitely from friends to lovers for life. Next we have Slow Burn, a deck you didn't have the best first impression of, but the more you worked with it, the more you liked it. Now this is the New Era Elements Tarot, and if you know this deck, you know that a few cards are quite triggering in it, and this was the reason that I wasn't like super excited about it. I basically got it because it was on a really good offer on Amazon at that point in time. Then I started working with it and reading for people with it. And oh man, this deck is such an amazing reader. It is straight to the point. It gives very good examples of the energies behind the meanings of the cards. I love the fact that you have such clear astrological associations on the cards. The art is absolutely exquisite. Yeah, I just love this deck so much. I am so happy that it came into my life. And like I said, the more I worked with it, the more I liked it. Like, it's really hard to explain. Like, with some decks, I feel you just need that time that you put in, and then they just start working for you so amazingly. This is one of my main decks to read for my friends. It is one of the most honest decks, the most direct decks, the most practical advice decks. And I just adore it. And yeah, I feel my connection with this deck is probably going to deepen even more the more I work with it. So yeah, this is the New Era Elements Tarot. Then the next deck we have Force Proximity, a deck you used for a month, took on a holiday, made yourself work with it, that changed your relationship with it. Now I have two decks here again. One of them is the Wildwood Tarot. Now the Wildwood Tarot I worked with in the month of April. And I always loved the deck. Like, I love Will Worthington's art style. I do. But it's just, oh my gosh, this deck connected me to my ancestors on a deeper level. Because I worked with it for the whole month inclusively, it just opened new doors of understanding for me. It showed me Tarot in a different perspective, through the wheel of year, through the pagan eyes, I'm gonna say. And it's just so beautiful that this is actually a different deck that I showed you the last time. I got a second copy, and I got a second copy from a person on eBay, and this deck is actually the first or second edition of it. So it's matte-ish, it's not glossy, and the cardstock is much thinner, so the shuffling is amazing. And I love it even more now, because one thing that really bothered me with the edition that I have, that is from 2020, I think, this is 2011, is that it's laminated, and the cardstock is basically the same, but with laminated coat over it, and it just makes it stiff and super glossy and shiny, and I don't like that at all. And that's one thing that really kept me from using it before I did that month. And now that I have it in this cardstock, and I'm so grateful that I found one, because it was so hard, because apparently the number on the box is the same in all the editions, so it's really hard to find what you're looking for. And then you have American editions and English editions, and it's very complicated and very confusing. So I wrote a message to the person on eBay asking them if they could send me the backs of the cards, and they did. And I was like, yeah, that's the one, because you can see it has the copyright on it, Will Worthington 2011, and you can see that the shine, the reflection you get on this cardstock is less shiny than on the other one, because it is like matte-ish. It's not completely matte, but it's very matte compared to the other one. Anyway, what am I talking about that? I wanted to say that this deck is just so deep for me. It connects me to my roots, to where I come from. It connects me to the beings in my forest. When I say my forest, that's the forest that I visited often as a child and played in that forest and took my pets in that forest and talked to the animals in the forest, etc. And it's just, yeah, because I used it for a month, I just connected with it on such a deep, profound level that I have a very special relationship towards it now, and I'm very protective of it. And yeah, I love it. What can I say? I love it. I'm just very, very grateful that this deck specifically came into my life and that it's like new, basically. It was almost never used. So thank you, person from the eBay. And then the next deck that I wanted to show in this category is the Ancestral Path Tarot by Julie Kushia Watts. And this deck I took on a holiday recently, and I always liked the art. Loved the art, always. It is absolutely beautiful, but then working with it, it just did something to me. I feel very, very connected to this deck now. I love the fact that you have 4 different cultures for 4 different elements. I love the fact that wands are fire and swords are air, because in other Julia's decks she swapped the elements, and I'm still not sure why. I mean, she explains it in the Journey into Egypt Tarot, which I will talk about later. I don't know, I just prefer swords being air and wands being fire, because wands burn and swords, when you cut through the air, they make sound, and that to me is very airy. I don't know. And you need to use your intellect in wars and in battles and stuff like that. It's not just your force and, passion, whatever. You need to be tactical. So, I don't know. I personally don't like to associate swords with fire and wands with air. Anyway, this deck is just so gorgeous. The meanings of this deck are pretty standard to the Rider-Waite-Smith Tarot, which is also something that makes it a bit easier to use. I'm going to say you don't need to depend on the guidebook. And it's just, a very easy deck for me that delivers beautiful messages, and that it has such exquisite artwork. It's just, oh my God. This is the first edition as well, 1995. The 1996 edition came out in this box with a book and with like some spreadsheet and stuff, which I also found on eBay, and I ordered it because I want the big book that comes with this, because in that big book that comes with it, you get actual story for each card. And it's like a storyline in each suit, which I love. And you can find the explanation for each story on Amber's channel that I'm going to write here, where she interviewed Julia, where Julia read from the book and she explained certain things in the cards, and that's very helpful. And I started making notes, but I was like, you know what, I don't have that time. I don't have time to sit down and listen to the interviews and copy everything that she reads from the book. I'm just going to get the book. I'm going to invest in it. And it should be here in a month, I think. It's coming from America, so it's going to take some time. But yes, I am now blabbing, so I'm going to stop. A very beautiful deck that I took on a holiday for a week and worked with it every day, multiple times a day, and it's just amazing, amazing, amazing. Next prompt is Opposites Attract. This deck is not your usual style, but you love it anyway. For this prompt, I chose Tarot of the She. You probably are asking yourself, why you show this deck so much on your channel? That is true. But to be honest, it has a very cartoonish style, which is not something that I usually enjoy. But in this deck, for some reason, it just works. And the messages it delivers are perfect. I just never expected it to be this powerful. So I got it because of some of the YouTubers that I was watching at that time really loved it. And the way they explained how it works just made me buy it. So I bought it. And then I started working with it. And I was like, whoa, this is such a powerful deck. It helps me shine my light through my solar plexus chakra. It helps me raise the vibration. It helps me burn through difficult things. It helps me see things clearly. It has a very sun-like energy and sacral chakra energy as well. But it's just so amazing. And the art is very intriguing. It is very 2D, but because it is kind of alien-like, I like that. And I also like the fact that the artist, Emily Carding, is not a trained painter, but she did it anyway, and I really love that. Like, when people do things anyway, no matter if they know how specifically to do certain things, I just find it has a deeper level to their work. I love this Warrior 7. Oh my god, this is 7 of fire. And you just look at that, it's so powerful. She's facing them with her inner fire, her hair is fiery. I love the fact that the fire goes through the crescent moon. Oh man, another deck that I can read very intuitively. I love it so much. I love it so very much. And I love that you have 2 fish here, which reminds me actually of the Tot deck. So I'm not sure if she was only influenced by the Rider-Waite-Smith or if we have some thought inspiration behind this deck too. I think when I study thought on a deeper level, I'm sure when I go through my decks again, I will know exactly which decks are influenced by thought and which ones aren't. It really isn't the style of drawing that I would be drawn to naturally, but it just works so fucking well for this deck. It is incredible. So one of my favorite decks of all time. This death card is so beautiful. So beautiful. I have 2 decks for the next prompt, which is Blind Date. An impulsive buy, a gift, or a deck you got without much research but ended up really loving it. 2 decks here. So the first deck that I'm going to show you is Spectral World Tarot. Now I didn't do much research on this deck. I saw it on a few channels and then I saw it on Etsy, the tower, and then I just went for it. I love rainbows and it has a lot of rainbows, so I was like, you know what, I want to have a rainbow deck that looks a little bit psychedelic, why not? And then I started using it and I was like, oh my god, it is so accurate. You wouldn't believe that the pictures are so different to each other, even though when you look at it at first they seem very similar because they all include the colors of the rainbow and more. But then when you have a reading, it is so interesting. Like I would never expect that to happen. And I'm so happy that I bought this deck because I think if I researched it a bit more, I probably wouldn't get it, because I would probably convince myself that all the cards look too similar to each other. And I would be wrong. And also, in person, these colors are not as bright as on the screen, and I love that, because on the screen I feel they could be a little bit overwhelming and a little bit too much is happening, but because in person the colors are a bit toned down, it is perfect. This is the first edition, by the way. There are 2 editions. The second edition is a little bit different, but I prefer this one, so I got this one instead. And it was actually cheaper than the newest one, so I'm like, whoa, okay. So yeah, this is the Spectral World, one of my rare pip decks. And I also love that it's pip, because I think I have like 1 pip deck apart from this one, and that's it. So amazing, amazing, amazing. Love this. And there's almost no people, just a few silhouettes of people, I think on the Lovers and on the Hangman, and that's it. So yes, Spectral World. And then another deck, I didn't do much research on it because I couldn't, because there's only, I think, a few reviews of this deck online, because there was only 250 decks printed. So this is Whispers of the Earth Tarot. And this deck, I saw it and I thought, oh, that is different. That's very different. I watched a few walkthroughs that weren't very detailed, to be honest. And then I watched the walkthrough from the artist herself. And I was like, I get this. I like this. So I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna get it. So I secured my deck and the artist put it away for me. I kind of forgot about it, and then the month came around that I wanted to purchase it in, and then I got it and I was like, whoa, when I got it I was like, wow, it is so different. It is so different from anything that I have, which I love. And the art style on different cards varies as well, which I appreciate actually, but it's still similar enough for the deck to be cohesive. And yeah, it's just so cool, this deck. It is very down to earth, but at the same time very pagan. And it's vegan friendly, I'm gonna say, because it promotes love for animals, love for everyone, and is just such a good reader as well. I did not expect it to be this good, but I've been using it on a holiday as well, and it proved itself to be so good, so I really love it. Some cards are very creepy, which I also love. This looks like the same person, doesn't it? 4 of Mind and 10 of Mind. Obviously this 4 of Mind plugged his brain back in and then he ended up here. But yeah, I hope that artist gets the publisher because she really wants to publish this deck. She wants to change a few cards, so she's doing that, and she's hoping that a publisher is going to pick up her deck. I really hope they do because it deserves it. It is just different and it's just so, I don't know, amazing. So you can see it's based on the Wheel of the Year, paganism, right? So isn't that magician absolutely incredible? So you have an all-seeing eye. So if you are observant and you see things around you, you recognize what can serve you, then you can vision it into the future. How cool is that? So yeah, this is the Earth Whispers Tarot. The next prompt we have here is Second Chance. A deck you planned to get rid of that worked its way back into rotation, or a deck that you did move along and ended up repurchasing. So for me, this is a deck that I planned to get rid of, and then I started using it again and opened my mind. Then it worked wonders. And this is the Witch's Wisdom Tarot. Not only is this deck absolutely gorgeous when it comes to art, it is absolutely gorgeous with its messages as well. This is a deck that I thought was too much out there, that I thought I was never going to be able to use because certain messages in the cards use a different perspective, I'm gonna say. And the Journey of the Fool, or in this case it is the Pilgrim, is reversed, but it doesn't bother me now at all. The fact that the messages are a bit different than in traditional Rider-Waite-Smith deck is actually a very huge plus for me, because it allows me to again step out of my comfort zone and to use my intuition in a better way. So very rarely with this deck I would be like, what does Three of Earth mean? And then think about that. No, I'll just go off this picture. I remember I didn't like the cardstock as well, because it is a bigger cardstock. It is an oracle size. But not only that, it is a bit thick, so it's hard to shuffle. Yet, if you separate it into 4 piles instead of 2, it actually riffle shuffles so beautifully. So I suppose this cardstock was meant to be for oracles, because if it was the oracle size, it would shuffle beautifully. But now, because it's tarot deck and it has 78 cards, there is a problem. But like I said, it's really not hard to separate it into 4 piles instead of 2. So definitely an amazing comeback. I'm so happy that I gave it another chance because it really deserved it and it has such beautiful messages. The next deck that I have here for you goes under the prompt Unrequited Love. You really want to love this deck, but it just doesn't love you back yet. This is one of the first decks that I got in my tarot journey. This is Mermaid Tarot. It is absolutely gorgeous, don't get me wrong. Gorgeous, beautiful art style. Vibrant colors, inclusive in all ways possible. But I don't know, whenever I used it, which was not many times by the way, I didn't get anything from it. The readings were not significant at all. They weren't even accurate for me. I don't know, I just can't connect with it. I love water, I love sea, I love rivers and lakes, but for some reason, I don't know why. In theory, this should be one of my soul decks, but unfortunately, it just isn't. It just isn't. And I'm so sad because it is gorgeous, and I love Llewellyn cardstock as well. It's one of my favorite cardstocks. Yeah, the art style kind of reminds me of the Metaphysical Cannabis Oracle. But it's funny because I am getting rid of that deck too. But I love the art style on both of these. Isn't that interesting? So yeah, unfortunately this one has to go. And I edged it in this gorgeous blue. I don't know what you call this blue, but it's absolutely beautiful. So yeah, I'm sure someone is gonna love it, and they're gonna love the fact that I edged it, I hope. Next prompt we have here is Love Triangle. 2 decks that are in competition with each other in your collection, or a pair of decks that you always use together. Now these 2 decks, I'm gonna say I always used together or one after another. They just come together. I don't know, it's hard to explain. They are from the same creator, Julie Kushia Watts. And one of them is Ma'at Tarot and one of them is the Journey into Egypt Tarot. Now, one of them is based on a traditional Western astrology. I'm just going to put them together because they work together. And the other one is based on the Egyptian, is it 11th dynasty or 19th dynasty? I forgot which dynasty. One of the dynasties. So a specific time in ancient Egypt. It is the time when the Caesar was alive. Now, please tell me which dynasty is that, because I am not sure. Anyhow, these two decks I always work with at the same time. Like I said, one is based, so Ma'at Tarot on the left is based on the Western astrology, and the Journey into Egypt is based on the real sky astrology. Now, real sky astrology is all about the stars that we can see in real time, whilst the Western astrology is how planets and star constellations were on the sky quite a long time ago. As we know, the sky above us changes constantly. Like the stars that we see now are not the stars that people saw, I don't know, 5,000 years ago. So the real sky astrology should be more accurate, right? But for some reason, for me, at least now, at this point in time, I just resonate with the Western astrology so much more that the real sky astrology doesn't make sense to me when it comes to astrological signs. Because in real sky astrology, my sun sign is Aries, and my moon and my ascendant signs are both Virgo. And if you ask my partner, he will tell you that I'm not the most organized person. Although I think I am, but he disagrees. So, anyways, she also uses, like I was telling you before, swords as fire and wands as air in both decks, which I personally am not too keen on. But it's funny because it's just the aces and the court cards that have changed meaning. But then if you go, let's say, to Four of Swords and Four of Wands, for Four of Wands is going to say family home, and for Four of Swords is going to say retreat, or, you know, taking a break or whatever. So I'm not completely sure how she changed that. For example, Six of Wands here says victory in the guidebook, which you get on the app, by the way, which is amazing, because otherwise the books are so expensive, because these decks are not cheap either. So I'm like, if Six of Wands is victory, Six of Swords is definitely not victory. Six of Swords is about moving away from the darkness or whatever. So I don't know, it's very interesting. I would like to interview her and ask her to explain a little bit more about how she sees this two suits. I absolutely love this Sun card. I am loving both decks the same, by the way. I love them. They're so beautiful, and they're also really great readers. Like, I will read my suits like I know them, so I will just adjust whatever it says in the guidebook if it doesn't go completely with it. It's amazing. Look at this Ace of Wands. How amazing is this? This feels like Ace of Wands, doesn't it? It doesn't feel like Ace of Swords or Ace of Air, let's say. So I don't know. I'm a little bit confused. I love the fact that the Fool is Orion. It is just so beautiful. They're so beautiful. I love these two decks so much. And they both have my favorite Justice cards in the world. Let's see if we're gonna get to them, hopefully, because they're just so beautiful. There we go. Look at this beautiful Justice card. Oh my gosh, it's so nice. I love it. And I like these two lovers because you don't know which genders they are. I love that so much. It's so inclusive. The guidebooks are really cool though. Like, they tell you the history, and they talk about the history of what is portrayed on each card, and I love that so much because I feel it's very educational as well. Oh my god, this Prince of Cups, look at this rainbow here, so beautiful. I love this Eight of Cups. Very different Nine of Coins. Love this Two of Cups. Ace of Cups, oh my god. And oh, there we go, two Aces of Cups. I can't choose which one I like more because they're both amazing. So yeah, these two decks, I always use them together. If I use one, I'm going to use the other one. And if I had to choose one, I couldn't. I couldn't decide which one I love more. So I love them both the same, but in a different way. Just like they use different astrology systems, I suppose. So yeah, these were Journey into Egypt and Ma'at Tarot. The last prompt we have here is Soulmates, when it was just meant to be a deck that you fell in love with immediately. Again, I have two decks here. I can't help myself, I'm sorry. So I'm gonna start with this one. This is the Thought Journey Tarot. This deck is just incredible. Oh my god. I love it so much. Like the first time I saw the colors, I was like, whoa, because I love watercolors. So she uses watercolors and oil painting here. And it's just so dreamy, and it's kind of, I put this deck and the Phalarcus Tarot on the same level of love that I have for them. They are similar but different. So this one is also very dreamy and very intuitive. And it's crazy because, as you know, I say it often that I have not studied Thought Tarot yet. I studied it a little bit, but not enough. And whenever I read these cards, I read them intuitively. I look at the picture, journey into picture, and just what is the picture telling me. And then I go and read the guidebook, and it literally is that same meaning. And I'm like, whoa, it is so good. Man, I don't have words to describe how much I love this deck. I'm so glad that I got it, because I was hesitating a little bit in the same way that I hesitated with the Spectral World Tarot, because each card is very busy, I'm gonna say. There is a lot going on and a lot of colors in every card. And I thought maybe it's gonna be too much. I'm not gonna be able to really see the details, la la la. And then I got it and I was like, no, I was so wrong. I was so wrong, and it's just so gorgeous. It is an indie deck and it is going out of print, so I'm sorry about that. I think it's still available to get with the book. Hopefully she still has a few. I know she said that she will have enough for a few months when I was getting it, and I got it in May, beginning of May or the end of April. I mean, look at this Water Queen. Oh my god. This deck is emotion. This deck is emotion. It's energy in motion, and it speaks to you in a very subconscious level. I don't know. I'm not sure how else to put it. And in the second I opened it, and looked at it, I just knew that this is going to be my friend, my very deep personal friend forever. And I have a feeling I'm not going to use this deck for other people. I feel that I'm going to use it just for myself, because it's just something very personal about this deck. I don't know if you can feel it from the pictures, but yeah, it's just very personal. Like it touches the waters of your emotions. I don't know, it goes in the past and in the future. It merges the realities together. It's just on another level. What can I say? So this was the Thought Journey. And the last deck that I'm going to show you is actually not a tarot deck. It is an oracle deck that I got as a gift for my birthday. And it is a deck that I was not able to show you in my birthday haul video because I didn't have it in my hands yet. And now it has been here for a while. This is the Soul Trees Oracle. And oh my gosh, that's another deck that I was like, I heard people talk about it in their YouTube videos. I heard people really loving it. And the funny story behind the way that these trees are drawn is that my whole life, the whole education, so my primary school, secondary school, high school and university, I was always sketching trees that looked just like this in my workbooks. There were trees everywhere, even in my diaries, like there was always trees that looked just like these trees in this deck. So when I saw this deck, I was like, okay, this is a sign. I feel like I need to get this deck. People really love it. It definitely has a special energy about it. And then I got it. And then when I opened it, and the first few cards that fell out were just like, whoa. I was speechless. I was like, oh my god, this deck is speaking straight from the box. I didn't even connect with it energetically yet. I didn't cleanse it, nothing. But it just started speaking to me. I was like, what? And the keywords are just so amazing. And it feels like you can pull 3 cards and look at the keywords and see the feelings that you get from these trees. And they just create sentences together. Take action and be confident, for example, right? They're so good. And then you also have chakra cards in it, which some people take out because this cards actually can connect to chakras so beautifully as well. And that's another reason why I love this deck, because I love chakra system. But I kept it in because I feel if the chakra card falls out, that means that I need to focus on that area of my life specifically. Because in every card you would have more than one chakra usually, right? Because you have more colors than just one. So yeah, this is one of them decks that I'm like so grateful. I'm so thankful to the person that got me this deck for my birthday. They don't even understand. I tried to explain to them how much I love this deck and what a favor they did to me by getting me this deck for my birthday. Yeah, it's hard to put in words how much it means to me. So this is the Soul Trees. There's 80 cards, which I also love. It's a huge deck. It's not just like 35 cards. It's 80. That's more than a tarot deck. I just can't stop going through it, which you probably understand because it's so beautiful. Let's pull a card for a collective, actually. If you're watching this video, this is for you. This is a message that Soul Trees Oracle cards have for you right now. Okay, be open. What should they be open about? What should the viewers be open about? Be open to teach. Ooh. Be open to teach. Be open to teach because you do have inner power. So I would say what the Soul Tree Oracle is trying to tell you now is that be open, that you can teach others with just being who you are, with setting the example, with sharing your thoughts, with sharing your beliefs, with sharing with the world who you are. Just by being who you are, with your inner power, you teach everyone around you about themselves, about this world that we live in. What a beautiful message, that everyone is a teacher in one way or another. And perhaps also be mindful of your inner power. Be mindful of your influence that you have on others. You know? Be mindful of how you use your words because they are a very powerful tool. I feel like we need to look at the bottom. Oh, look at that. And to end it with, live from your heart. As long as you follow and live from your heart, everything is going to be great. Everything is going to be just fine. And you will teach people around you, maybe your children, maybe young people around you, the right things. As long as you live from your heart and as long as you open and realize what inner power you hold. Wow, what a beautiful way to end this video. I hope that you liked the decks that I showed you. If you have any of the decks that I showed you, please tell me what are your thoughts on them. Wherever you are right now, I hope you're having a wonderful time and I will see you again soon. Bye bye.